experience you can trust. CBS News.
With clear, accurate coverage. This is WCCO 4 News, the hometown team.
Hello, I'm Kathy Wurzer. Thank you for joining us. When it comes to rivalry between cities, St. Paul doesn't want to be the dowdy twin anymore, and that's why workers will start closing roads this week to begin major renovation. Frederica Freiberg is live tonight in St. Paul with details on the transformation. Fred?
St. Paul is sick of being the butt of jokes over rolling up at night and for taking grief over its crazy mixed-up streets.
In St. Paul, there's no rhyme nor reason. It's not numerical. It's not alphabetical. Yeah. And, you know, I think it was those Irish guys, you know what they like to do.
The governor took heat for that comment on national TV. The truth is, downtown St. Paul streets are a crazy jumble of one-ways. But worse, most of them haven't been replaced in nearly 100 years.
We did not have the will or the courage to tear up the streets and redo them from scratch.
But times have changed, and this week, St. Paul embarks on closing down, tearing up, and replacing streets.
All this paper is going to be laid by hand,
including fancy cobbled brickwork, double-wide sidewalks, and newly planted trees. St. Peter Street comes first, beginning July 15th, closed down for 45 days. Sakura Restaurant fronts St. Peter Street.
Cross Street? I don't know.
You think that'll have an effect on business?
Yep.
Closing the street in front couldn't help but hurt business, but the city says the pain will be worth it. The facelift plan started small, with flower baskets along Watershaw.
Go down my shirt all the way down.
And this city engineer, the only one watering them, on his way to work. But it's blooming this week into a $20 million, 6-year transformation.
We're not trying to move cars from point A to point B. We are trying here to upgrade the downtown, and so we can...
Now again, St. Peter Street is the first to come under the jackhammer. Other phases of the project will follow, including closing down and replacing part of 4th Street, which sees 4,000 vehicles each day, and then a portion of Chestnut Street, which sees 6,400 vehicles each day. Next year, it's Kellogg Street. So Kathy, these streets may still be crazy and mixed up, but at least they'll be beautiful.
What's the big project, Fred? Why all this right now?
Well, the new Science Museum and the new hockey arena are expected to attract about 1 million visitors each year. St. Paul would like to keep those visitors coming back. They would also like to attract more new business, like Lawson Software.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it. Well, it's been 2.5 weeks since a 19-year-old clerk was abducted from a Moose Lake convenience store. Today, a caravan of volunteers took off from the Twin Cities to help search for Katie Poyer. Law officers have called off the official search around Moose Lake, but volunteers have been out on their own looking for Katie. Katie's parents say the volunteer effort is what keeps them going as they pray for their daughter's return.
But I talk to her. You know, I tell her to be strong and that, you know, we love her, to just keep going on that, because we are looking, and we'll find her.
Even though the official search has ended, police still want us to show you this latest composite drawing of the suspect. If you have any information, call the Carleton County Sheriff's Department. A DNR conservation officer will receive full law enforcement honors at his funeral Wednesday. He and a moose researcher died when their small plane crashed just south of Baudette on Friday. Pilot Grant Coyer of Bemidji would have turned 44 today. The other victim, grad student Eric Cox, was doing aerial moose tracking. Coincidentally, a Grand Forks newspaper story appeared today about his research showing moose populations are on the rebound in Minnesota. Earlier, we incorrectly said the article appeared in the Star Tribune. NATO troops are running into trouble as they move into position in Kosovo. The crisis over Kosovo was dealt with from the air, but on the ground today, German troops fired back at 2 gunmen in a car. The driver died immediately. The passenger was wounded. One of the German soldiers was hurt in the shootout.
We're here now.
The U.S. Army moved into Kosovo from the south to cheers from the Albanian refugees. But in the capital city of Pristina, still more tension between NATO troops and the Russians who got there first and want to control a section of Kosovo themselves.
This is essentially a political problem. It has to be dealt with in a political manner.
We do not believe that there should be a separate Russian sector.
The territory is dangerous for folks trying to bring us the news from there as well. Canadian troops went to help 2 German journalists hit by gunfire. Both died. The Serb troops aren't all out yet. These were attacked by rock-throwing ethnic Albanians who are emboldened by the presence of NATO peacekeepers. They kept the shouting match from turning into a shootout. The Serb troops are joined by retreating Serbian civilians who have loaded their tractors with all they possess. They fear they will face retribution when their former neighbors of Albanian descent, who they thought were gone for good, come home. Returning refugees won't find much of home left. Houses burned in an ethnic Albanian suburb of Pristina, still under Serbian troop control today. Today, British troops also reported finding nearly 100 bodies in mass graves near a town in southern Kosovo. A man who's prayed for an end to that civil war is home celebrating the fall of communism. Pope John Paul said Mass today before 1 million Poles. He told worshipers that God wanted them to break free from the old Soviet Union. The Pope is recovering after falling and cutting his head on Saturday. He needed 3 stitches, but will finish out the last 4 days of this trip to his homeland. Nations in the Middle East had tried to prop up oil and gasoline prices this spring, but just in time for summer, the prices are going back down. A new survey has found that gasoline prices dropped an average of 3 cents a gallon in the last 3 weeks. That's down to $1.13 for regular unleaded. Super unleaded is at $1.23. And just in time for summer, an explosion of ticks. The little pests are a big problem, especially in the northern suburbs. Northern Ramsey County has an unusually high incidence of Lyme disease. It's carried by deer ticks. Naturalists say high numbers of ticks may be due to the mild winter and warm spring. But whatever the reason, the advice is to be careful.
We just try to teach people to make sure that they're aware of it and that they're cautious and that they check themselves every night.
If you're bitten by a deer tick, the telltale sign of trouble, a rash that develops around the bite. It looks almost like a bullseye. If you see that, call your doctor. Many people worried about their health still don't stop smoking because they're worried they'll get fat. A new study has found a way to avoid both. Researchers say women who exercise while trying to quit are twice as likely to stop smoking, and the women who worked out gained only half the weight of others who quit. Researchers think men could expect the same results. Well, many folks never expected a marriage made in a mall to succeed, but exactly 1 year after David Weinlich and Elizabeth Runze professed their love and said, "I do," they still do. David Weinlich became famous around the world when he let 55 friends and family members pick a bride for him. The couple planned to celebrate their anniversary by going to a Motel 6 to swim and watch a little TV. June 13th is also a day many University of Minnesota students will remember. Folks in the College of Liberal Arts graduated today. Explorer Ann Bancroft spoke to one group this morning, but there are so many graduates, the school held a second commencement in the afternoon. Author Garrison Keeler gave the address for that ceremony. He warned graduates it's often not enough to work hard. You have to be lucky in life, too. Yes, you do. Well, we've been lucky with our weather this weekend. Other folks in the Midwest can't say that. Chandra Michaels shows us where. Fans try to get a glimpse of a newlywed from the TV show Friends. And in sports, amazing pictures and an even more amazing story about what happened to this driver of this car. But first.
Next in Dimension, it's a never-ending story, Minnesota weather. Now Dimension looks back at 50 years of weather coverage, from the early days to the future. Fast forward through 50 years of weather. Next on WCCO 4 News.
People are talking. Hey, push your button. What if you could meet someone without leaving your house? Hey, talk anywhere. Live links, 512-9999. You don't know who you're missing.
You're watching WCCO 4 News, the hometown team.
This summer, Channel 4 is celebrating 50 years of broadcasting to the Twin Cities and beyond. This month, we're taking a look back and getting a peek at the future. We're calling it 50 Fast Forward. Tonight in Dimension, a combination of science and storytelling. WCCO's Alan Cox shares the spectacle of Minnesota weather and the people who tried to help us understand it.
It's the never-ending story that touches everyone, every day.
There's not a lot going on in the weather 90% of the time. It's the 10% of the time that the weather's serious.
I think, you know, Minnesotans love having good weather, and they survive having bad weather, and then they brag a little bit about the survival.
When coverage began on Channel 4, weather sandwiched a bread commercial. Early on, announcer Bud Kraling was told to fill in on the Tasty Bread Weather Report.
Well, I didn't know anything about the weather and never did pick up much information over the next 40 years. But I had a lot of background in doing commercial work. It was a 5-minute weather program, and I probably spent about 3 minutes on the Tasty Bread commercial.
Bud kept the job, held it when it became the Shell Weather Tower. Viewers were supposed to imagine he was outside on high. Then came a real view outdoors, the weather window. Passers-by on 9th Street could see and be seen.
It was funny, we had some regulars during those times. Among them, one guy who showed up with his guitar every other day and would stand out there singing his heart out during the forecast.
The viewers never heard the troubadour. There was no microphone outside. And there wasn't a lot of time for Bill and Bud to ponder the forecast. The Weather Bureau supplied it. They had other duties like announcing station breaks.
Front that we hinge our weather forecast for the I thought of myself as kind of the next-door neighbor talking to the friends in the neighborhood.
The humidity is not quite so bad tonight, and so this push is a whole lot easier.
The number and size of weather maps and the weather factoids kept expanding. The station got radar.
According to our radar weather picture, we should at least have a sprinkle in our Twin Cities area.
Looking like an old World War II movie, it was military surplus. Every few years, the viewers were reminded that weather isn't just a spectator sport.
14 persons died as a result of the tornadoes. Another 500 were injured. Homes by the hundreds were demolished.
Were you injured from any of the debris falling?
Yes, I got hit with concrete right here on my head and right here on the side of my face.
When it wasn't life-threatening, weather could be a source of comic relief in the day's news. Bud had a long-standing partnership, usually as the straight man to Dave Moore.
In working with Dave, I really felt comfortable in talking about the weather.
That the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Dave was marvelous to work with because he's a real clown, had a wonderful sense of humor. Yeah, it didn't bother me, whatever Dave said.
The station tried another way to spice up the weather map.
This is 30 years old.
Nancy Nelson stood under this moon and walked across the weather map late night Saturdays.
And we went from mini skirts one week to elaborate evening gowns another time. And of course the boom camera, when I got to here, would not take a shot of me walking, but rather a shot of my leg and ankle. So the joke, of course, was they don't recognize the face, but the ankles are familiar.
Meteorologist Mike Fairborn has been watching a potentially dangerous storm system.
By the 70s, the station was ready to hire a professional meteorologist.
Dave, I guess to bring bad news to people that have already been hit by bad news. We've gone from where we would draw our little weather maps by hand, you know, with blue and red pencils, to being able to print one out quickly off of a computer and be looking at it hour by hour, even minute by minute.
And if it looked bad enough, everyone got into the act. This was an afternoon in 1988 when funnel clouds were sighted. The station interrupted programs for hours and incurred the wrath of viewers and critics when no tornadoes touched down. The viewers weren't always so lucky.
My prayers was, God, just give me one more breath so I can get out. That's all. I thought I was going to die.
More often, the weather was an annoyance for commuters.
Ramps and side streets here are in very tough shape again, the same as they are in all the rest of the metro area.
Or a way to torture reporters.
One man who is not so fortunate is our Alan Cox, who is live, we trust, in Minneapolis to tell.
Eventually, the station was ready to move the weathercaster into the weather.
When I came to CCO in '92, we went up to this flat-roofed building and thought, this is the place. We'll build a garden here. We'll spend a couple $1,000s, and we'll have this oasis in downtown Minneapolis.
It was pricier than that, but Rebecca could show viewers how to survive and thrive in the Minnesota climate when she wasn't experiencing it herself.
I was getting paid for something that I did anyway. My passion has always been to garden.
From where we were 22 years ago to where we are today is just a huge, huge, giant leap because we really are much more accurate than we used to be.
In the future, the weather may get more personal. Precise forecasts for specific neighborhoods delivered by television combined with the internet, even if the forecast still doesn't reach very far into the future.
I tell people anything beyond 5 to 7 days is voodoo. Use at your own risk. I think the real opportunities for improvement on the forecast side is the short-range forecast, the nowcast.
And next month, WCCO's weather station plans to offer a closer view of the sky above.
The weather is not flat or 2D, so now we have a tool that can display the weather in 3 dimensions and take people on sort of a space shuttle tour of the atmosphere over Minnesota and the nation. One more way to tell the story.
The story that never ends. For Dimension, I'm Alan Cox.
Next Sunday night, our 50 Fast Forward Dimensions continue with a look back at Channel 4 News and what you might see when the next century starts in 2001. I'll tell you, just in the past, 5 years in our business, things have been changing so quickly.
It's amazing, isn't it? And looking back 50 years, wow.
Oh, yes.
I'm kind of glad I got into weather more recently than, 50 years
writing on weather maps and that sort of thing.
It would be really difficult to have to, draw in because my artistic skills
Well, Bud Kraling was great at doing that.
Yeah, obviously he was very good at doing that.
Speaking of changes, any changes in the weather?
Not really big changes. We do have some cooler temperatures in store for us, but we have definitely had some great weather over the past couple of days. Not so great, though, in other parts of the nation. In fact, in Illinois, things have gotten a little bit messy. In fact, heavy rain in northern Illinois for the past several days has brought flooding to McHenry County. There's widespread standing water on area roadways, and water is beginning to seep into some homes, businesses, as well as some schools. There have been reports of up to 3.5 inches of rain in just the past 24 hours. No rain for us in the past 24 hours. It has been great. We have seen beautiful blue skies. Our high today got up to 74 degrees. Our low was 59. No rain recorded. Currently, we are at 62 degrees under partly cloudy skies. The dew point at 47. Humidity at 58%. Winds out of the northwest at 8. And the barometer is now on the rise. Temperature-wise around the state, we are starting to see a cool off, and those temperatures will continue to drop as we head through the night tonight with some cooler weather in store for us. Readings already in the 50s up to the north, 53 in International Falls. We've cooled down by about 10 degrees since earlier this evening, 63 in the Twin Cities, 63 in Mankato, as well as in Worthington. As we take a look at the satellite picture, you'll notice that we did have a few extra clouds roll in through part of the day. We had an upper level disturbance that was to the west of us, caused a few tornado warnings and watches through parts of North Dakota. That brought us a little excess cloud cover, but that has been working its way across the state, and we are going to watch as high pressure builds in, bringing us some very nice weather as we head into the next couple of days. The radar replay for the past several hours shows where all that rain is. It's been affecting parts of Wisconsin as well as Illinois. Now working its way to the east, things have gotten much more quiet through parts of North Dakota, and we are nice and dry throughout much of Minnesota. We're going to stay that way until we head into Tuesday night. If you plan on traveling, it looks like things are going to be nice for the upper Midwest, a bit cloudy for parts of the south. It looks like it's going to be warm in Miami, and you can expect to see some very warm temperatures for Las Vegas with triple digits expected. We'll show you the forecast for Minnesota coming up in just a minute, but here's the forecast for greater Minnesota.
Mathematic Model 2 adjustable bed is so relaxing.
It may even temporarily provide relief from my low back pain, Harry. Yet it costs up to 56% less than a quality flatbed.
I adjust my head and feet and fall right to sleep.
Call toll-free to get free information by mail about the Craftmatic Model 2 adjustable bed. This wonderful bed adjusts to hundreds of relaxing positions, offers optional warm, soothing heat, and relaxing built-in massage, yet costs up to 56% less than these quality flat beds. Up to 56% less. Don't pay more to remain flat. Call toll-free and get complete free facts by mail about the adjustable bed that costs up to 56% less.
Call to get Craftmatic's free catalog right away. There's absolutely no obligation.
Call toll-free 1-800-979-8998. That's 1-800-979-8998 toll-free. 1-800-979-8998.
And welcome back. Your forecast for tonight does call for partly cloudy skies. Temperatures dropping down to around that 50-degree mark. It is going to get chilly, but even colder temperatures for overnight lows ahead of us as we head into the work week. Highs tomorrow only at about 70 degrees at best, partly sunny conditions. The week ahead calls for partly cloudy skies on Tuesday. By Tuesday night, we'll see a chance for some showers. Those showers lingering on into the first part of Wednesday. Late Wednesday, we should start to see a clear up with high temperatures in the middle 60s. Thursday, partly cloudy and highs warming up just a touch as we head into Friday. Friday looking mostly sunny with highs about 70. As we talked about in the earlier newscast, it is a little bit below normal for this time of year, but I, for one, like that 70 degrees versus that 90 degrees that we had last week with the humidity and the severe weather. We'll take the calm stuff.
All right. Thanks, Chandra. Well, one of the stars of the hit TV series Friends wanted to be much more than just friends. Now she's married. Fans gathered outside this church in San Francisco this weekend. Inside, Courtney Cox was getting married to actor David Arquette. The two met on the set of the Scream movie several years ago. Cox wore a white Valentino dress, for those of you who keep track of that. Friends actress Jennifer Aniston and her boyfriend Brad Pitt were among the guests. Well, R.J. Fritz was not among the guests. He's here with highlights from interleague baseball and pictures of a spectacular car crash in Le Mans, France. Even more amazing is what happened to the driver. Stay with us.